Most Jiu-Jitsu Academy owners fail not because they don't have good Jiu-Jitsu, but because they weren't taught how to run a business. In fact, they're often black belts in Jiu-Jitsu, but white belts in sales and marketing. My name is Brandon Gross, and my partner and I went from 0 to 400 students within just 12 short months, and we're even ranked #1 as a top martial arts academy in the state of Hawaii our very first year. And today I'm going to be sharing the top 7 mistakes I see academy owners making that hold them back from having the academy of their dreams. So let's dive right in. Mistake #1 is listening to the people that are close to you who say things like, most businesses don't turn a profit for at least 2 to 3 years. Or hey, if you're breaking even on your first year, you're doing a great job. Or even, go get a real job. Or it's safer to get a job with benefits. While they often have good intentions and they're trying to help, if they've never been in this business and built what you're trying to build, then stop listening to them. And even if they are in the jiu-jitsu business, if it took them maybe 5 years to break even, they'll often say things like, hey, it's gonna take you 5 years. But their experience doesn't have to be your experience. And the reason that I'm sharing this is because those were the exact things that I heard when we first opened our academy. But I chose not to listen to them. In fact, one of my business mentors used to say, you don't get in life what you want, you get in life what you expect. That means it's our job as academy owners to set the standard high. And for me, I didn't want it to take 3 or 5 years to be profitable or even a year just to break even. I wanted to be highly profitable in my first year. Our goal was to get to 400 students, and I wasn't satisfied with anything less than that. And that leads me to mistake #2, which is creating a culture that's exclusive instead of inclusive. However, I've also onboarded a few dozen students who transferred from other academies. When students look to transfer from another school, I always ask them, hey, if you don't mind me asking, why are you looking for a new jiu-jitsu home? And their answer is never, oh, their jiu-jitsu was bad, or oh, their facility wasn't nice. The things that we think as academy owners are actually important. Those things might matter to us, but in reality, it doesn't matter as much to them. The #1 reason that I hear other students saying is, I didn't fit in, or I just didn't feel like I was a part of the team. Therefore, our academy success is predicated on our ability as the academy owner and the leader to create a culture that's inclusive, that makes people feel warm and welcome and that they want to be a part of. And that leads me to the 3rd mistake I see academy owners making, and that's trying to do everything themselves. Oftentimes, we're trying to be the office manager, responding to inquiries, getting back to parent questions, or the janitor cleaning the mats, or making sure the space is clean, or the lead marketer trying to promote the school. We're coaching all the classes. We're the contractor, putting up the decal on the walls, installing the mats and the wall pads, and even responsible for selling our programs and onboarding new students. Wearing too many hats and trying to do all the tasks by yourself often leads to burnout and resentment. And it's not just from working too many hours, it's from operating out of alignment and doing the things in your business that don't actually bring you enjoyment or that your skill set is naturally wired for. And when you try to do everything yourself, not only are you accomplishing less and moving slower, but you're also creating a job for yourself, not building a business. And even if you're not doing a lot of these things, but you're coaching and you're teaching all the classes, you're creating a culture in which your students are dependent on you. Which means if you try to take a step back and teach less classes, your students may feel a sense of bitterness and even say things like, my coach is never around anymore. And you might think, well, that's their fault or that's their problem. But the truth is that you created that dependency and set that expectation that you would always be around. A quote that I heard that completely changed my perspective on this is, the more valuable that you are to your business, the less valuable your business is. So if you're okay creating a job for yourself, then by all means, go ahead and do that. But for me and for a lot of academy owners out there, we want a lifestyle academy, which means that we get to come in and teach the classes that we want to, not always because we have to. And one day in the future, who knows, maybe I'll want to sell my academy. And in order to do that, I know that I have to start building a team and creating systems that aren't solely depending on me. And that starts right now. And that leads me to mistake #4, which is not charging high enough prices. As a new academy owner, you might be tempted to look at other competitors in your area, look at their prices, and try to undercut them. This is a huge mistake. And in fact, I'll reference something that my instructor told me. He said, would you rather have 200 students paying you $100, or would you rather have 100 students paying you $200? The math is the exact same, but in reality, it takes twice the amount of work to get in twice the number of students, despite having lower prices. And I don't know about you, but I'd rather have less students paying me more money than a lot of students paying me less. And the reason why is because I know I'm going to attract a higher quality customer and have less headache. Cheaper offers will lead to more tire kickers and more customer complaints. Higher prices are often associated with a higher level of service or higher perceived value, therefore attracting higher quality students. My academy is one of the most expensive academies on the island, if not the most expensive. And yet we are still packed year round. Cheap things aren't always good, and good things aren't always cheap. I don't know about you, but I want my academy to be associated with a higher level of prestige. And I know I can't do that unless my prices match that perceived value. Charging higher prices also means that there's more money to go around to hiring staff, building a team, or even reinvesting in your business to increase the level of your services. And that leads me to mistake number 5 that I see academy owners making, and that's overextending yourself on your lease. Don't fall into the trap of signing a higher lease just because it's in a good location or because it looks good. If your rent is more than 35% of your gross revenue, my recommendation would be to stay away from that because it's going to be difficult to remain profitable. So for example, if your rent is $6,000 a month, and you divide that by 35%, if you want to be profitable, you need to be bringing in at least $17,142.86 in monthly revenue. If you take that $17,000 in monthly revenue and divide that by $150 a month, if that's your monthly membership rate, it's going to take 115 students to remain profitable. Just because I said that's profitable, that doesn't mean it's worth the amount of time you're investing into it. But to share a quick story, I had a student come up to me once, and I could tell he was trying to do math in his head. Because he asked me, hey, do you do this full time? And I said, yeah, I do. And so I could see him looking around the room, counting all the students, trying to figure out how many total students we had, and multiplying that by his monthly membership rate. But we as academy owners, we know better. We know that if our monthly revenue is $17,000, well, there's self-employment tax, which is 15% right off the top. There's federal income tax, which is 10%. There's also state income tax, which varies from state to state. And then we have other things like rent, merchant service fees, software, advertising, utilities, gym supplies, bookkeeping services, Wi-Fi or internet, insurance. All these things start to add up. Merchant service fees are about 3%. Our software is about $250. Advertising, we're spending roughly $1 to $2K a month. Utilities, personally, we're right around $500 or $600 every month. Wi-Fi is about $100. Gym supplies, which includes academy gis, mop heads, vacuums, that sort of thing. That's about $1,000 a month. Our insurance is about $65 a month. And to pay a professional bookkeeper, we're paying about $500 every month. So using the example of $17,000 in monthly revenue, our self-employment and federal income tax combined is $4,250. All of the expenses I mentioned come out to be $8,925, which means our total expenses in this example is $13,175. So if we take the $17,000 and we minus our total expenses of $13,175, we get a net profit of $3,825. So although in this example our net profit is $3,825, I want you to think about how many classes you taught and how many hours you actually spent in the business. So let's say you're working in the business for 5 hours a week and you're open 6 days a week. That gives us 30 hours a week times 4, and that gives us 120 hours a month. If I take the $3,825 of net profit and divide that by 120 hours worked, that breaks down to $31.88 an hour. But if you have a 50-50 partner like I do, we're going to divide this net profit by 2. That gives us a net profit of $1,912.50. Again, divide by 120, let's say, and that comes out to be $15.94 an hour. So then the question becomes, was it worth it for me to work in the business all for just $15.94 an hour? So my point in sharing this example with you was to show you that your lease, your rent, is oftentimes your highest fixed expense. So do what you can to negotiate that down, do your due diligence and shop around, make sure you exhaust all your options, because after all expenses, as you guys can see, it's not as much money as you might think. Signing an expensive lease can put a lot of pressure on you as a new academy, and when your back is up against the wall and you need money, students can feel that and they can get a sense for that level of desperation, which will end up hurting your business in the long run. And that leads me to mistake number 6, which is not creating a schedule that's in alignment with your financial and lifestyle goals. Using the previous example, assuming you didn't have a partner and you're earning about $30 an hour, again, ask yourself, is that worth it for you? I often see new academy owners overextend themselves, teach too many classes, not realizing that their dollar per hour is actually very low. Personally, I would rather max out my existing classes before opening up new classes. So for example, we had been open for about 6 months when I started to hear a lot of requests for morning classes. My partner and I decided to hold off on that for about a year until we found a coach who was willing to take on those morning responsibilities. because my partner and I were not willing to come into the academy twice a day, as we both have young children that we prefer to spend time with during the day. And that leads me to mistake number 7, which is not having a clear marketing plan. When you first open up your gym, there's going to be some initial buzz. Students from your previous academy may even decide to come with you. But once that initial buzz slows down, then what? What are you going to do to generate new leads and to get new students to join your academy week after week and month after month, not only to keep up with your expenses, but again, to remain profitable? I often hear academy owners say things like, I'll just teach really good classes and people will come. But unless you're Gordon Ryan or you're the upper echelon of jiu-jitsu instructors, that mentality will not get you very far. Because good jiu-jitsu is becoming a commodity nowadays. There's tons of good jiu-jitsu everywhere. And your average mom who wants to sign up their child for jiu-jitsu to gain confidence, they don't know who Gordon Ryan is, nor do they care. Also, relying solely on walk-ins or even word of mouth is a recipe for disaster because you don't have as much control over this. Compare this to running, let's say, Facebook ads, for example. You can be sure that your advertising dollars are being spent well and that your offer will be put in front of a certain amount of eyeballs. As an academy owner, would you rather wait for random walk-ins or call-ins? Or would you rather have a system in place that brings you new leads and gets new students to sign up month after month without having the stress of worrying about where your next student is coming from? I don't know about you guys, but I would much prefer the latter, which is what we did to go from 0 to 400 students in just 12 months. So guys, if this video helped you and you guys want more help building the academy of your dreams so you can live fully, train freely, and change the lives of more students in your community, then click the link below to register for my free web class where I'll show you how to scale from 0 to 400 plus students in under 12 months in a highly competitive market without being held hostage by a marketing agency. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next video.